Aloha. How is it? Today, we're talking all about how you can right size your strategic LinkedIn network so that you can grow your business and scale your impact. So, more on that in a minute. How was your weekend? Happy Valentine's Day if you celebrate. We had some fun size waves over the weekend, and it's pretty flat today, but it's jumping up to like 10 to 15 foot tomorrow. So, just like that, it happens on the North Shore. So I pulled a hamstring the other week. So I've been kind of babying my leg and going to see a physio to ensure it recovers. I even tried surfing with my leash on my front leg. So if you don't know much about surfing, you always put your leash on your back leg because it otherwise it gets tangled up. So I looked hilarious trying to surf with leash on front leg, but that's besides the point. I believe the ocean is kind of magical and it has these healing powers. So I was determined to just paddle around if that's all I could do. So now it is time for Mondays with Mindy. This is a weekly show at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, where I talk about all things LinkedIn pipeline, promo, and profiles, what I like to call the three P's of LinkedIn. So, a little teaser for those of you who also are kind of like podcastaholics like me. I am launching a podcast. Finally, I know it's been a long time coming. A lot of people have asked. It's going to be called The Mango Effect, and it is happening. The episodes are dropping on April 4th. The trailer episode is up now at mangoeffect.com if you're curious and you want to check it out. I'm also now on Apple Podcasts. That just got approved, so I'm really stoked about that. Go ahead and subscribe now so you'll know when the episodes drop. It's going to be a very different experience. So you'll hear me talk about topics that are less LinkedIn centric, and it will also give you a sneak peek into what I believe it means to create and live a lifestyle by design. And I get into some pretty juicy topics. We talk about entrepreneurship, health and well being, surfing, relationships, creating your own lifestyle by design, and how all of that looks. So, mangoeffect.com, April 4th. Stay tuned. So, do you have questions about LinkedIn that you want me to answer? Be sure to like this post, whether you're watching live or from the replay. You can also leave your questions below and I'll answer them after the show or on a future episode of Mondays with Mindy. So I love getting recommendations for different topics and shows because I kind of weave that into my calendar and I want to know what you're curious about. So, this was something that a lot of people were curious about. So, I'm doing a show on it today. We're going to get to today's topic, which is how do you right size your LinkedIn network to ensure that it's aligned with your career and your business goals? Now, last week, we talked about picking the right prospects and how to do that the mango way on LinkedIn. So, this week, we're going to kind of take a step back to figure out okay, who actually should be in our LinkedIn networks to begin with, not just focused on prospects, but who else should be in your LinkedIn network. All right. So, is anyone else guilty of playing the comparison game on LinkedIn? Okay, I'm going to raise my hand. Maybe I should raise both hands. It is very easy to start looking at everyone else in your space who's either growing faster than you, has a bigger network. And then we can easily feel like this range of emotions around not being good enough, not growing fast enough, not having a big enough network, all of the things, right? We feel things when we compare to each other. So it's easy to sabotage our LinkedIn efforts before we even get momentum. If we start with the comparison game, it's not going to lead to anywhere good. So we all know the comparing habit is not a healthy one most of the time, but we are still human and we're going to get sucked into it frequently. It's just going to happen. So the next time it happens, you're going to be prepared with a technique that will help you combat the bigger is better comparison. That's the topic of today. When you focus on growing your network bigger for the sake of getting more eyeballs on your content or getting connected to a bunch of other professionals, it's actually going to hurt your results on LinkedIn in the long run. You're thinking, Mindy, that doesn't make any sense. If I have more eyeballs on my content, more people will come down my funnel. You know, there's big wide marketing funnel here, and we get more people out the bottom if our funnel is wider. It's just not how it works on LinkedIn. If you have a small network right now, you're going to be really happy today because you're going to be in luck. I'm going to share today why that's actually an advantage when it comes to people you may consider your competitors who have a bigger network. So, we're talk about the big and the small and what you can do if you want to right size it. Some of you are going to want to grow bigger. Some of you are going to want to kind of be a little more strategic moving forward. Some of you are going to want to remove connections. So, what does all of that look like and how do you figure out what to do next? With a small network, You're able to take a completely different approach to networking and engaging with those connections while you're also focused on increasing revenue, attracting new clients, and building your personal brand. If you have a network that feels a bit out of alignment with your current business or career objectives, we're going to talk about some ways you can actually kind of right size your network to improve your results on LinkedIn. Like, what does that look like? Remember, there is no right or wrong. So I'm talking about a lot of different things, but there is no right or wrong with network size. And a lot of times we're sold this idea that we have to grow our network to a certain size, or we're not going to be successful. It's not really the case. I've seen people with all different types of networks, all different sizes of networks get the business results they want out of LinkedIn when they were intentional, when they were strategic, when they had the right people in their network. It's all about getting clear on what size network is going to work for you and then the types of people that are going to go into your network. Remember, you can always adjust your strategy down the road. Okay. No right or wrong. No matter your starting point, you are exactly where you need to be to start getting tangible results from LinkedIn. Or say that again. No matter your starting point, you are exactly where you need to be to start getting tangible results from LinkedIn. So take that in, breathe in, say, okay, I'm in the right spot. So what do I do next? So let's talk about what right sizing your network actually looks like on LinkedIn when you're deciding who belongs to your network now and moving forward, who doesn't. All right, aloha. For those who are joining now who don't know me, my name is Mindy Rosser. I'm the founder of Mindy Rosser Marketing, and I have a group program called the LinkedIn Accelerator for those who want to go from 0 to 60 on LinkedIn with their profile and their network. So we had a great time earlier this month with the last cohort, and you're invited to get on the wait list for the next one. I'm super excited, happening in April. The details will be at the end of this live if you're curious. So I help superstars who feel they are the best kept secret in their industry to become that go to visible expert in their niche so that they can get that next opportunity, grow their business, and scale their impact on LinkedIn. Now, in this live, we are going to talk about why just growing your network on LinkedIn as big as possible is causing you to waste time on people whom you do not want to do business with, and how you can identify those who are going to be the best fit moving forward so that you can get more clients and business opportunities this year. So, are you ready? Let's do this. Reminder to go ahead and like this post, whether you're live or watching from the replay, to give it some social love. All right, when your network is too big, what actually happens? Now, you may not be convinced that a bigger network is not hurting you in any way. Those who are just kind of hanging around as a number in your LinkedIn Rolodex are not hurting you, or are they? It's easy to assume that if they are boosting your following, it's okay for them to stay right where they are. But there are a few things to consider here when your current next network is mismatched with your goals. So, when you're connected to someone on LinkedIn, that very act of connecting implies that you want to be connected to them professionally for some reason. If this is no longer the case, or you've moved on, or they've moved on, your network should reflect that. It's really important that your network is aligned with the direction you're headed now. Intentionality is a really big deal on LinkedIn when it comes to whom you're connected to. And people on LinkedIn, believe it or not, they do see their mutual connections, or a lot of times they can see a list of all of your connections if they want to really dive deep. And if you have those set to public, people can see those. So if you were in a different sector, some years back, and now you're coming back to LinkedIn and you've made a shift to a new industry or a career path, you really want those mutual connections or that list of connections to show that you are well connected in your new industry. Let me give you an example here. I have a client who was a leadership consultant in the nonprofit sector, and he decided to start focusing on cannabis leaders. So, when he initially made this jump, it was really tough at the beginning to get people in the cannabis space at the caliber he wanted to connect with him because he didn't have any people already in his network that were in the cannabis industry. So, when you are just getting into a new industry, realize it's going to take a little bit of time, and it may be a little tough at the beginning to start getting connected to people in that sector, in that industry, in that niche. So just be patient with yourself. Now that he spent about a year building up his connections in the cannabis space, people are much more willing to connect with him. Why? because he knows so and so that they know, or he's connected to somebody that they're like, oh, yeah, that's a mover and shaker in the cannabis space. I'll get connected to you. Sometimes we think people aren't paying attention to these things, but they are. Don't you? I do. So look at someone you're connected to, like hop onto LinkedIn, go look at someone you're connected to or not to see the mutual connections you share. You'll see them right at the top of their profile. So when you recognize a number of those names, you are going to be more likely to trust that individual. Yes? Okay. Yes. It's kind of obvious. It's like, oh, I recognize so and so. Oh, how do you know George? So these types of things are ways that we signal to people we are not yet connected to, and we start building trust. So I almost always look for mutual connections when I reach out to connect with new people. Some mutual connections show that they are also intentional. When I see mutual connections, I'm like, oh, cool. You're connected to a number of people in the same community that we share. That makes me feel good. Makes me feel like, okay, you're a real person. You're actually engaged with others like us in the space. You're not just an avatar. So it's critical that we are intentional about connecting with people. You're building trust when you are connected with people that your prospects or that people you want in your network are going to recognize. So think about that. You're like, huh, that's a good question. So if they came to my profile and they saw that I'm connected to so and so big name in the space, would that be a good thing? Yes, that most likely would. So think about building trust even with your network. Your network is building trust for you. And a lot of times when we are thinking about our profiles and getting connected and prospecting on LinkedIn, we aren't thinking about the mutual connections that we share with others who may want to connect with us. We don't think about the people we're connected to already. We're usually focused on getting more, and we're like, it's not good enough. And we're forgetting all of those connections that we've built over time that are still aligned, that are still serving us, then we're still serving them. So if people come to your profile and they see that you're connected to a bunch of other people known as lions, so capital Lion, these are the LinkedIn open networkers. This was a big thing a few years back, even more than that, 5, 10 years ago. And these people would connect to just about everybody. They were just trying to get their network as big as possible. So if you're connected to a bunch of those types of people or people that look a little salesy or spammy, people are going to like reflect on that and go, huh, I guess you just accept everyone, huh? You're not being very intentional or strategic about those people in your network. And I do this too. There are some people that I've connected to in the past that I know are like the lions, the open networkers, and they just connect with everyone. And when I see that a new potential connection is connected to the same person, I'm like, "Ugh, you're not that strategic about who you're connecting to." And this really does reflect subconsciously. And a lot of times we're not going to go through this whole process in our heads, but just realize it's happening behind the scenes, whether we recognize it or not. So, do you see how intentionality with your LinkedIn network is pretty darn important? If your network is big, but it's not intentional, it's not going to help you with your current objectives. So, big but not intentional, no bueno. We really need to be intentional with the people in our network. Another thing to keep in mind is that your engagement rate on your LinkedIn post, if you share content. So if you're one of those types that shares content on LinkedIn, not everyone needs to, but some of us are posting content on LinkedIn. Your engagement rate is how many people engage with that post in relation to the size of your LinkedIn network. So if you've noticed that that number is pretty darn low, like say you have 1,000 connections and you get one like on your post, that's pretty low. Probably because a lot of the people inside of your network are not aligned with what you're talking about now. So it's something to look at and really think about as you are thinking, okay, how can I improve here? What are some subtle tweaks I can make? If your goal is to really deeply connect with your network, which a lot of us, that's where we're leaning towards, especially nowadays, it's not necessarily just to grow bigger. We really want to go deeper with our connections. You actually might be better off with clearing the slate or doing a little cleanup of your connections so you can better manage all of the interactions in your network, just to be sure that everyone is aligned, that you're aligned with them, in that it's beneficial both ways. So, again, there's no right or wrong, but it helps to be aware of some factors that you may never have considered to be hurting or helping you in your LinkedIn efforts. So your network does not have to meet the criteria for what everyone else considers to be the right size if you're happy with the people inside it. You get to choose the size of your network. The number of people is all up to you. I have people who go through my accelerator programs that determine that 500 is just the right size network for them because they want to be deeply engaged with just about everyone inside their network. So, for those of you who are freelancers, solopreneurs, you work with high paying clients on retainer, this smaller network size might be fine for you because there are plenty of opportunities for you within a very niche network. If you like to avoid overwhelm and you want to be highly selective with the people who join your network, then go ahead, stick with that smaller range of 500 to 1,000 connections. Down the road, if you decide to write a book or want to expand your network, you can always grow bigger. But it won't hurt if you're like, Mindy, I want it to feel manageable. I really want to build deep connections. I want to connect with only the people that are very close in my network, people I want to go deeper with. Now, maybe you're someone who wants to realign your network, in which case you might want to clear the slate and start removing connections from your network if they're no longer a fit. So if this is you, if you're like, Mindy, can I just start from ground zero? Like, I want all of my connections to be perfectly aligned with what I'm doing now. If you're going to take this approach, if you're going to be drastic and start removing a bunch of connections, just make sure you are intentional about the ones you choose to remove from your network and who you want to replace them with. You, when you're taking away, you also want to be replacing them with people that are more aligned with where you are now. So maybe you're thinking that you just want to adjust your approach to networking from here on out. So maybe you're like, okay, Mindy, I don't want to remove a bunch of connections. I'm pretty happy. It's okay. It's good enough. And I just want to be thoughtful moving forward about the types of people in my network. I would say this is the category that most of us fall into. This is the category where I fall into, where it's like, okay, if there's people that that I connected with a while back and maybe they're not completely aligned with where I am today, that's okay. I feel like some people I will remove if they get kind of annoying or spammy. But for the most part, I'm pretty happy with my network. In this case, you just really need to think about the size of your network and the quality of the people in your network. So, will this size, a question to ask yourself, will this size network give you the right number of opportunities for your business? If it is too small, you will find yourself struggling to get enough opportunities. But if it's too big, you may not know which group to focus on first. You may say, Mindy, I'm connected to a lot of my prospects, but who knows what I said to them and when? And maybe I have some spammy things that I sent to them a while back. I don't know. So if it's too small, then you're going to find yourself like, not sure if I have enough opportunities here. If it's too big, you may be struggling with, okay, where do I focus first? Do I need to remove connections and do I just need to kind of move on from there? All right, so we're going to talk about three things that will really help you with right sizing your network. Now, expert networkers have it down to a science when it comes to networking with the right people. For the rest of us, like I would not consider myself an awesome networker. Like this is what I'm really, really good at. I think for the rest of us, we just need to understand the basics to ensure we can network naturally without exerting too much effort, without pulling away our energy from more direct revenue generating activities. Now, I would argue that growing your LinkedIn network can often become a revenue generating activity once you learn how to do it well. But you will need some time to get into a groove with networking before you're able to point to something like, for example, I got connected with 100 people. This always yields me about one new client and 2 to 3 partners and referral sources. Once you get really good at LinkedIn networking and you can actually point to those numbers and you've actually tracked them, you'll be able to say, okay, connecting on LinkedIn does yield revenue for me. But at the beginning, it's really about taking those baby steps and getting comfortable with networking on LinkedIn. So, the first thing to think about is you want to get clear on your network size. We talked a lot about size already, but is your network right now big enough to give you new opportunities or collaboration opportunities? So, whether it's clients, prospects, you're trying to get speaking gigs, you are trying to get into conversations to be on someone else's podcast, all of these types of opportunities, is your network the right size to have enough of these coming in? Excuse me one second. If you feel like it's crickets, and that you don't have many opportunities in your network right now, you're going to need to focus on growing your network. So you're going to just accept the fact that, okay, it is what it is. I need more people inside my network. Now, I find a lot of small to medium sized business owners and experts really feel great in about that 1,000 to 3,000 range with their network. So that many connections, followers, but that may not be a fit for you. So you really have to think about it. Where are you now? Does it feel a little too small and you could add some more people that would be a better fit in your network moving forward? Or does your network feel too big right now? Maybe it feels a little bit unmanageable, like you're not able to keep up with all of the conversations. I would say more people probably fall into this too small camp than the too big camp, but some of you may also be experiencing the pain that comes with having a network that's really big. So if you're stuck with like a big network and you're like, "Ah, what do I do?" I'd recommend, if it feels really unmanageable, removing some connections from your network who do not fall into the category of people you'd like to do business with in some way. So it's really all about finding your sweet spot. There's no absolute right or wrong, but think about what network size do you need? And this may take some trial and error. You may be go, Mindy, I have no idea what size network I need. I just got started on LinkedIn. In that case, just go for 500 connections, and that's where you're going to start. All right. Number two, get clear on who belongs in your network. Who is really, really important. This is not about adding everyone you've ever worked with before to your LinkedIn network. Now, if you're in that really tiny camp, you just got onto LinkedIn and you're trying to get to 500 connections, maybe you can connect with all those people from the past. That's fine. But being intentional about who belongs in your network now is the key moving forward once you have that baseline of connections. Okay, so you're looking at LinkedIn. The first thing you want to do when you first come to LinkedIn is, okay, make sure I get to 500 connections. Hopefully, most of these people are kind of aligned with where you are now. If you have people from the past, that's okay. But then once you get to that 500, you're thinking, okay, now what do I need to do moving forward? Who belongs in my network? Ideally, you're going to want a mix of different types of people in your network. So, when I'm talking about a mix, think of contractors, freelancers, other experts in your field, past and current clients, and a good percentage of prospective clients or customers. You want a nice mix of people in your network. Once you're clear on the types of people you want to add, you can focus on adding just those types to your network. So, for example, if you're thinking, Mindy, I'm not connected to enough peers and colleagues in my space. I think it actually would be good to go deeper with, maybe I'm an affiliate or a member of this organization and I'm really not connected to any of them on LinkedIn. So maybe that's where you start. You may think, okay, I've got a really good base, I've got a good network, and I really want to think about getting prospects and leads. Like I feel comfortable reaching out, I feel comfortable getting connected to people, but I need business opportunities. So then in your case, you're going to focus on prospects, leads, clients, customers. How do you do that? So you're really matching it to what your focus is now. What skills do you need to develop? All right, so number three, you're going to get clear on your approach, your LinkedIn networking approach. So, as we were talking about the different categories, you're going to think about one category you want to grow the most in your network right now. Many of us immediately think about those leads or prospects, which may be the category you want to grow next. Like I said, if you're comfortable and confident on LinkedIn with your messaging. But if you're still new to LinkedIn or your network is still kind of small, I'd recommend going for those who are more like your peers because they are much, 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 much more likely to say yes to your LinkedIn connection invitation. And that's going to give you confidence. When people start accepting your connection invitation and being excited to be connected to you, you're going to feel this surge of confidence. You're going to want to go find some prospects and leads and new opportunities. So you want to develop that confidence in adding new people to your network first. You will then be able to start focusing on those other categories that are a little bit more tricky, like leads, prospects, trying to get on other people's podcasts, pitching yourself, those types of things. So give yourself an immediate win. Here's my challenge to you: reach out to 5 to 10 people who are a part of a business community, a group, an organization, or affiliate network. The majority of them are going to immediately accept your connection invitation. And you'll be ready to either add more of them or start reaching out to those potential clients. So give yourself a little confidence boost. 5 to 10, reach out to 5 to 10, send them a connection invitation, get connected. You got to build your networking muscles. That's what I call them, your networking muscles, before you try to prospect on LinkedIn. And some people try to skip this step. They try to say, oh, but I just want prospects. I don't care. Mindy, I don't care about this networking stuff. Just give me prospects. But you need those muscles, those networking muscles in advance. It's kind of a precursor to prospecting, is being able to network well. It will serve you very, very well in the long run once you develop them. You're going to feel confident, which is going to be critical to having those conversations with prospects and leads and customers. So let's recap the right sizing process. So first, we're going to get clear on our ideal network size. No right or wrong here, small, big, it doesn't matter. What is going to work well for you now? Then we're going to get clear on who belongs in our network, the types of people, what category are we thinking to add Next, who do we already have a lot of? We don't really need more of at this point. What category could we beef up a little bit? And then we're going to get clear on our LinkedIn networking approach. So we're going to focus on one of those categories and start reaching out to people in this category to build our network. All right. So, what additional questions do you have about building your LinkedIn network with the right people? Leave them below in the comments or shoot me a private message. I'm happy to answer them. So, if you're ready to get started with LinkedIn and take the next step to optimize your profile once and for all, so you can actually start feeling confident growing your network on the regular, or you want to land your next opportunity in 2022, join me inside the LinkedIn Accelerator program, which is opening in early April. Super stoked about this next cohort. It's going to be a blast. So I will see you all next week on Mondays with Mindi. Feel free to leave questions, comments below, and my inbox is always open if you want to message me directly. Bye for now. Mahalo.